Hi, this is Vic Mignogna, voice of Edward Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. Captain Kirk in Star Trek continues. And do you know what the best podcast is? I'm going to tell you. Five-ish Fangirls, yeah!
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 64 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Memories are funny things. The good ones fill our lives with meaning of context, of clarity, and other memories that can deceive the ones that make you believe that you know the truth. Those are the dangerous ones. When you look back on the decisions you have made in your life, the one thing you don't want to feel is regret. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by going around the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin. This is Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel, currently in South Bend, Indiana. I have currently relocated, but it is only temporary, so it's all good. But we're all here. Yay!
We're all here. We are 5 this week.
Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Chrissy survived Salt Lake Comic-Con, but we'll hear about that shortly.
Yes. There's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, she's con crud free, which is always a good thing.
Yes, I was very glad to not get the crud.
Yeah. So, but we've got a lot to talk about, so let's jump straight into it with news. First off, we've got a couple of teasers for Jessica Jones. They seem to be content with just sending us little niblets, little appetizers, before we get like a full-on, like, full-blown trailer and air date or something. So, but there's been 2 released, real short. They're like 30, 40 seconds long. There's one titled Good Morning, and then there's one titled Nightcap, and neither of them you see Jessica's face, but you do get to see at least some of Jessica's abilities.
Yes.
Yeah. She's not somebody I think I'd want to encounter in a dark alley anytime soon.
No, and there was, and I'll mention this later, but there was a panel at Salt Lake Comic-Con that I went to. Marvel's Defenders or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the title of it was, but they talked a little bit about Jessica Jones and kind of what her powers are and her storyline. So I'm intrigued, and I'm also disturbed at the same time. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna watch it. I may have to watch it, like, with a teddy bear or something.
Yeah.
Or hiding behind my pillow.
Yeah. Something like that. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so teasers, you can watch them. We'll have them in the show notes. Moving on with the news.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Sherlock Season 4 actually has a start filming date, finally. All you true believer Sherlock people who've been waiting. It seems like at least once a week I see on Facebook some Sherlock thing like the fandom is still waiting because they're I saw one this week that's like a dusty old skeleton that's like still, sitting on the couch still waiting for Sherlock Season 4.
So I've moved twice since the end of Season 3, so like, really?
Yeah, it's Sherlock, but the details are, let's see, Stephen Moffat spoke with Collider, and he said that Sherlock Season 4 will start this spring, 2016. This is what he said. Mark Gatiss is going to start writing soon, and Moffat is to finish his Christmas special for Doctor Who, and sorry, right when he finishes that, he'll be right on to Sherlock, and according to this link that we have, it says it's believed that the production of the Doctor Who Christmas special has been completed, so Sherlock should be underway pre-production with Moffat writing the scripts. And he says they'll start shooting next year, probably April-ish. So, not really a confirmed definite, but more definite than we had before.
Which makes sense because Doctor Strange is in pre-production right now. It's supposed to start filming next month. If you figure they take a break for Christmas and New Year's, the Doctor Strange will probably go into January, February-ish, probably. So Benedict is a little busy for the rest of the year, at the very least, which makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he can do pickups and ADR and whatever for Doctor Strange, and then go into Sherlock.
Yep. So Benedict he's always been a busy guy, so he'll be there. So Sherlock people, if that's what you've been waiting on, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Fret not. Let not your faith fail you, or something, and whatever.
I don't know if we I don't know if we mentioned this last week or not. I don't think we did, but Stephen Moffat said that the Sherlock, I'm doing air quotes here, Christmas special will not air on Christmas because Christmas is already full, I guess, as far as the BBC is concerned.
Oh.
So
maybe New Year's.
It'll air around Christmas, but it won't actually air on Christmas. Probably because we have Doctor Who on Christmas. I would assume.
I think between Doctor Who and Sherlock, Tumblr would probably break on Christmas.
Probably.
All I'd have to throw in there was Supernatural with a Christmas special, and I think everyone would just be like, blah!
Probably. So.
I don't even watch Supernatural, so.
You just know enough.
I know enough, and so in some ways I kind of wish I didn't. But whatever.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Moving on.
Idris Elba has teased his villain role in Star Trek Beyond, which is the next Star Trek movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, Simon Pegg and Doug Jones have penned the new movie, which is being directed by Justin Lin. And Elba has been dropping a few hints about his role in a new interview with MTV. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold.
That's okay.
Sorry. Simon and the team have written a very interesting, complex journey for my character, he revealed. You've never seen me play a character like this. He continued, I think Star Trek has prided themselves as being quite classic when it comes to villains. He's a guy who wants to end the world, there's no doubt about that. But in this version of the film, there's a slightly different twist to that. As for the film itself, he said, it's quite an interesting journey, which I think is groundbreaking for the franchise. But it still keeps with the classic bad guy is a classic bad guy tone. Star Trek Beyond is set for release on July 22nd, 2016. So before the actual 50th anniversary of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I wonder, because he says in this version of the film, so I wonder if it's a villain that maybe has been mentioned before or seen before, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's a completely new villain.
I hope it's a new villain, because when they tried to retread Khan with Cumberbatch and all that stuff, I was like, you really didn't set that up very well, both in the marketing and in the movie. But again, that's another thing I'll touch upon on one of the panels I went to at Comic-Con.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a thing.
I only know Idris Elba from the Thor movies. So. I haven't seen anything else he's in, so I've never seen Luther or anything, so I don't, the fact that he's like, you've never seen me play somebody like this, I'm like, well, I've barely seen you play anything, so okay.
It's like, yeah, for real, I haven't seen you play anything like this.
Yeah. There's gonna be no Hemnon, open the Biofrost in the new Star Trek, apparently. Anyway.
Anyway,
We shall see.
well, with that, we're on to Marvel now. Which Chris Evans has said that there's no clear bad guys in Civil War. Over the weekend, Captain America himself, Chris Evans, took the stage of Salt Lake Comic-Con, having wrapped production on Captain America Civil War a few weeks ago. It's unsurprising that the majority of the questions he faced from the crowd were about his next Marvel Cinematic Universe adventure. As you may already know, this is a movie that puts Captain America and Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., on a collision course. Tony actually thinks that we should be signing these accords and reporting to somebody in Cap, who always been a company man and always been a soldier, actually doesn't trust anymore. Evans explained when asked about the outline of the new movie. Given what happened to Cap 2, I think he kind of feels the safest hands are his own. And these are understandable concerns, but this is tough because even reading the script, I think I agree with Tony in a way, and I do agree that to make this work, you do need to surrender to the group, he added. It just can't be one person saying this is right and this is what we're going to do. Evans also noted that Cap has his reason. He certainly has his reason, and that his moral compass is probably the cleanest. He continued, hopefully what will make the movie great is nobody's right, nobody's wrong. There's no clear bad guy here. We both have a point of view, which is akin to most disagreements in life and politics, which is intriguing. I kind of like that whole thing that there's not really a bad guy, just two different sides. And
Well, I mean, as far as the Civil War goes, there actually is, from what I understand, there is going to be a bad guy, but it's going to be a third party. So there'll still be a bad guy. Just as far as Team Cap, and Team Iron Man.
And there is, I hate to keep bringing back to Comic-Con, but there is a full video of the Chris Evans panel that was at Comic-Con, and we posted it on Facebook, and that's, he answered a lot of different questions, and Anthony Mackie and Haley Atwell were both there, so maybe we'll put a link to that in the show notes and let people see that, because that was one I did not get to see. I knew I wouldn't, but...
Bit crowded, I imagine.
Well, it was, they did it a little different. They had a lottery to get people in there.
No,
I unfortunately did not win the lottery, which I was okay with because I had other things I was going to do.
Yeah.
I do love that picture that's floating around.
Oh, the engagement picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Seen that everywhere, and it was like, that is so cool.
Just Haley's face just makes the entire picture. Like,
yep, I think that's why it's going viral, is because of how Haley is reacting.
Yeah. I love it.
Moving on to our next bit of news, Emmett Brown to save the world in your short film. We're less than a month away from October 21st, 2016. The Marty McFly time travels forward to in Back to the Future 2, and since Marty's last visit was to 30 years in the future, that means we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the film's original 1985 release. A new Back to the Future 30th anniversary Blu-ray box set will be available on October 20th with all three movies and lots of bonus features, including a short film starring Christopher Lloyd, in which Back to the Future co-creator, producer, writer Bob Gale explains why the 2015 we live in isn't the same as the 2015 in Back to the Future 2 thanks to Doc Brown's actions. In addition to the 30th anniversary Blu-ray set, a larger, even cooler Back to the Future, the Complete Adventures box set, which includes all three films, the animated series, a new bonus disc, and a 64-page book, all packaged in a flux capacitor, will also be released on October 20th. Yippee! Hand over my money now.
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. I saw that and I was just like, dude, I need this box set in my life.
I normally hesitate when it's something I technically already have, because I have the 25th. But, like, this has a lot more stuff than the 25th does, and I need this.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had the 25th box set, but in all my moving from college and here and there, I lost it, or it got stolen or something. I don't know what happened, so I'm like, I think I need a new one.
Oh, and I guess just my mind's technically in New Mexico right now still, so not like I can watch it right now. So
Well, there you go.
But I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just a 30th anniversary box set, but the 30th anniversary happens to fall on the same year that he actually goes to in the movie.
Yes.
So
I know, it's just...
it's like we can't have this happen again for a while. So that just makes
Well,
so much
what other movie do you know of that has something like this? So
none.
you gotta make a big deal out of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So maybe if Chauncey is a good boy, he'll get that for Christmas. Pretend you didn't hear that, honey.
You just spoiled the surprise.
I said maybe. He's got to earn it.
He might end up with coal in his stocking.
Yeah. Anyways, last bit of news. The Doctor Who, they were teasing this on Twitter, and we were saying in our pre-show chat that of all the things where they were like, we have big exciting news, this is not what I expected the news to be at all. But it's still exciting. So we've had Torchwood, and we've had the Sarah Jane Adventures, and there was even that weird K9 TV series that was around for a hot second. And then K9 and Company. K9's had a couple of TV shows. But we are getting another Doctor Who spin-off TV series. This time it's going to be titled Class, and it's going to be on BBC Three for all our folks that actually watch stuff on the BBC. And it is going to be set at Coal Hill School with essentially like a I think the one of the quotes or things I saw, it was going to be like Scooby-Doo meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Coal Hill School students set in the Doctor Who universe. So it's going to be there's no time or anything, just they're working on it. It's going to be headed by Patrick Ness, who is a young adult writer, and we don't know who's going to be in it, or when it's going to air and how long it's going to be or what yet, but
well, I do know Patrick Ness wrote one of those short ebooks for the 50th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
It was one that was not that good. It was the Fifth Doctor's one, which maybe that's why it annoyed me so much that it really wasn't very good. So, and I know when Traveling the Vortex, when they reviewed it, they were not impressed either. So, maybe this is coloring my perception of this so far. So we'll see. Who knows?
Maybe. So we shall see. But the fact that it's going to be, it's set at Coal Hill, that maybe there's a chance that we may see a certain Mr. Chesterton make an appearance. Maybe?
I sure hope so, because they have had ample opportunity to let him make a cameo.
I know.
And he ain't getting any younger, guys.
No.
So,
Yeah.
Well, and depending on how Clara ends up leaving the series, Jenna Coleman may be able to make an appearance every now and then, depending on how she departs Doctor Who, alive or not.
She could be like Noah Wiley in the Librarians, because he was still doing Falling Skies, and he just popped in every once in a while or something.
Yeah. It's always a possibility.
Yes.
I mean, that in itself would be a reason enough to watch, I would think. We get Ian Chesterton back on the screen.
Seriously, it's like, when they brought back Katie Manning in Sarah Jane Adventures, it's like, yes.
Like, yes, please. Thank you.
Bring it on.
Oh. That's it for most of these. We don't have a Dub Smash War update this week. Round 3 has not started yet. So they're in the backgrounds, I guess, planning out the grand finale, I guess, for their last entry for the Dub Smash Wars. So, I guess. I was mentioning earlier, I saw Clark Gregg post earlier on Facebook earlier this week asking about music videos, so that may have something to do with it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. So we just have to wait and see.
It's kind of like the NFL playoffs where like they find out they figure out who's going to be in the Super Bowl. They take a week off and then they have the Super Bowl.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe something like that. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? We'll wait and see. Right now, Team Shield is ahead by not by a whole lot as we're recording. I'd like to see the total. They're so close at this point. The total between the two teams is almost over $100,000. I'd like to see them crack that $100,000 mark.
That would be cool. Definitely.
Yeah. We shall see. And then somebody's going to win the grand prize.
Grand prize is pretty fun.
Yes.
Anyway, my Google Doc thing crashed and I can't get it to come back up. Is that me?
Well, we're a little. Well, I mean, we're only 3 days into the month, so I think we already posted on Facebook. But we should probably go ahead and mention this month's photo challenge.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is, it's October, so it's kind of like our annual thing now. 31 days of Halloween. And like I just said, it's all 3 days in, but that doesn't mean it's too late. You can join in. You can start from the beginning or start from whatever day it is. But like, I don't want to say typical entries because I thought we got pretty creative with some of these.
Yeah, we tried to think outside the box with the prompts for this one, so it's not just a repeat of last year. So although it's funny because I have that Time Hop app on my phone, so it shows me what I tweeted and or Instagram or Facebook, a year. I think mine it goes back like 6 years because that's how long I've been using like Facebook and all that. So it's also I can see what I posted for the prompts last year, and I think maybe the year before. So then we were also doing. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? We were also doing the ABCs of Star Wars the same month, so we were doing two photo challenges.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had a twofer going.
Yeah.
I think the Vortex Boys had one going, and Brittany had one going. So we were all like, okay.
So it's fun to see like 31 Days of Halloween last year, but except the prompts are different, so it's not like I'm different answers. But still, it's just funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, join in on the fun. Photo challenges are always fun, but especially Doctor Who related.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of Doctor Who, the October book for the Traveling the Vortex book club on Goodreads is up and running. This month's book is Lethbridge Stewart, The Schizoid Earth by David A. McEntee, and it should be very readily available. And so far, I'm a couple chapters in, and I'm enjoying it so far. And the boys will be doing a review of the book on their podcast sometime in the near future.
Mm. How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how those things work out.
Yeah, it's like we planned it or something.
Serendipity, I tell you.
Yeah, not like we're associated in any way.
No, it's not like we talk to them and plan these things out. Not at all.
Seriously.
Oh my! All right. So with that, now Chrissy, it's your turn.
Okay. Thank you for the cue.
You're so welcome.
Last week, I hope I don't put us too far over because I know we want to get to our topic. But
well, you can hit on the highlights.
So, okay, I'll hit on the highlights. So Salt Lake Comic-Con, I actually had to make notes here real quick so I didn't forget anything. There was, oh my gosh, this thing was so stinking big. I mean, I think every year, every time whether it's FanX or Comic-Con, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, what are we going to do when we outgrow the Salt Palace? I mean, there's nowhere else to go. But it's a good problem to have, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we said, like we kind of mentioned earlier, like Chris Evans and Haley Atwell and Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, the whole Captain America crew, they were there. I did not meet any of them because, holy cow, that was just not going to happen. There were too many people around. So I kind of hit some of the lesser-known things. Although I will say this, my younger sister went, and oh my gosh, she was posting pictures left and right. So yeah, on her Instagram, she's had so many cosplay pictures. She had a blast, and which I'm very happy to report that she had a good time. But she said she was going up and down, like meeting all the celebrities that she could, and she even did get to see Chris Evans and Haley Atwell from a distance, but she was happy about that. So anyway, I actually so on the first day, Thursday. Well, my boyfriend and I got there. We all got there kind of at the same time, and we met his brother and his brother's wife at it's the Word Fire booth. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Kevin J. Anderson. He's written a bunch of Star Trek novels and yeah.
I've heard of him. One of the books from his saga of Seven Sons on my shelf, and I met him a couple years ago and got it signed.
Yep. He's written some good Star Wars books too, as well with his, and he's even co-authored a few early youth series for Star Wars with his wife.
Okay. Yeah. So he was there, and
really cool original sci-fi series that he wrote a while back.
Yeah,
it's so good. I really like it. So just if you want, you can check it out.
Yeah. So I met him at.
It's set a few hundred years into Earth's future.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
I think he had a whole bunch. He had a new one at the booth because like this, he has a. I think it's his own press called Wordfire, and basically it's based on helping authors who are just starting out to get a name for themselves and start out, and he kind of lends his name and credibility to them, and they go to conventions all over. And there was one author that I met there, super nice lady, Julie Frost, and her book was just out. I haven't had a chance to start reading it, but I did buy it. It's called Pack Dynamics, and the blurb on the front says nanotech enhanced werewolves. Basically, and I was like, okay, I'm buying that one, and she signed it for me, and I think she sold out of all the copies that she had at the booth, which is awesome. Anyway, so my whole roundabout story here. So that was our first stop on Thursday, and we actually ended up going back there quite a number of times, and I bought a whole bunch of books, which I probably shouldn't have, but I regret nothing. But so I got to meet some really neat authors. My boyfriend Jared actually knows some of them because he's working on a book of his own, and he introduced me to one author who I've been a fan of for a while, Larry Correa, he writes the Monster Hunter International and Grimdark Chronicles, and he has one coming out soon that I'm really excited for called Son of the Black Sword. It's like an epic fantasy. It's like first sort of that genre that he's gonna write, that he's written about, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds interesting because I like his other stuff. So but my boyfriend Jared has like taken creative writing classes from Larry, and they're like Facebook friends and stuff, and he wanted to introduce me. And I mean, in my day job, I write for a political blog, and I do that, and so when Jared introduced me to Larry, he said, oh, she writes for this blog, and Larry looks at me, he's like, I know you, I love your stuff. And I was like, okay, I love your stuff, but I wasn't expecting you to say that to me. So it was kind of interesting that I'm like, okay, I've got the day off from work, I'm unplugging from the news, and here's someone that I'm a fan of saying, oh, I know you too. So it was kind of like, hello. But Jim Butcher was signing there, and I've never read any of his stuff, but he writes the Dresden Files, and I want to read his stuff. I just haven't had a chance to yet. But another one of Jared's authored friends was in a different booth, and he had a whole stack of Jim Butcher stuff, and he's like, "Can you stand in line and get this signed for me?" Because Jared and his brother had stuff they were getting signed. So I met Jim Butcher. I didn't know what to say to him, but I met him. He was nice. So I'm sure, like Holly, I can hear you being like all excited. Mm-hmm. and a little bit jealous. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have anything better to report about that. But I did sit in on some of his panels. It was cool, and now I want to go read some of his things, which now my stack is like, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to talk about it.
Ever growing, I hear you.
Ever growing. But I did meet Terry Brooks, and if you don't know who Terry Brooks is,
sweet.
Yes, yes. And I bought, because all of the books I have of his are ebooks, so I didn't know what to have him sign, but at the Wordfire booth, they were selling the first Shannara, a sort of Shannara trilogy in an omnibus. I'm like, ooh, that looks nice. I'm going to buy that and have him sign it. And I actually got a picture of him, or a picture of me with him. Well, me and Jared and him were all there. I don't think I've posted that one on Facebook yet. I should, but I didn't. I'll get to that. So when I went to talk to him, and he was just like, he just wanted to sit and talk to people, honestly. But I mean, his line was not that long when we went to his booth. And when I got up there, I told him that the first thing I actually read of his was his novelization of The Phantom Menace, which I read before I saw the movie. And I told him that the movie did not live up to the book, and I actually prefer the book. And his response was, well, I'm going to plead the fifth on that. but that made him laugh, and I was like, I made Terry Brooks laugh. Ha! I was totally fangirling, and it was awesome. I know I'm going through this really fast, but I've kind of separated this out, so this isn't like in strict progression of it's very timey-wimey. So a lot of the time I went and saw a ton of the author panels just because it was something that was kind of cool, and actually listening to some of them talk about, writing and how they get up with their ideas or how they put them into action, and just kind of their own different styles. Like there was one panel I went to that was outlining versus not outlining. They call it pantsing, which is like writing by the seat of your pants. Like you just sit and write and you don't really have a plan. And some authors do that, and others outlines. They were kind of talking about the pros and cons of that, and sitting there listening to them talk about this, I'm like, man, I should really dust off that old novel that I wrote in high school that really wasn't that good, and see if I could salvage anything out of it. But then I got home and was like, but it was just really cool to listen to him, and just, I mean, this was sort of my author con. But there was one panel that I saw that I wish I was trying to live tweet it, and I couldn't do it because I was laughing so hard. It was the live plotting panel, where there was a panel of authors. I'm trying to remember. Larry Correia was there, Jennifer Nielsen, Chuck Gannon. I'm trying to remember the others' names. I'm really blanking, and I feel dumb. But they were all there, and basically what it is they would ask for input from the audience. It's basically like authors doing improv, so it's like, whose line is it anyway?
Oh,
and they would come up with a story based on what the audience gave them, and they did 3 of these, like in the hour that the panel was that long. And one of the prompts in, like, I think the second story they did was a grumpy old man who's out for revenge and who hates cheese.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, they took the cheese thing and they ran with it. In fact, the best one that they came up with was Larry Correia came up with cheeseomancy. Now, if you've ever read Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, and he has the allomancy magic system, which is like based on, the kind of magic powers you have is based on the kind of metal you ingest. Mm-hmm. Larry instead took and did cheese, like a magic system based on cheese. So, depending on what kind of cheese you eat is the kind of magic power you have. So, like, cheddar makes you fly, or provolone gives you invisibility. But the evil dark magic comes from eating processed cheese, and he threw in a Firefly reference, 2x2 hands of orange Cheeto fingers. And those were the villains.
The funny about that, I'm like slowly eating Cheetos as you were saying that.
Oh no! Turning to the dark side of cheesomancy. And later we went back to the Word Fire booth where Larry was signing, and I told him, because every year he does kind of it's a really goofy Christmas noun story. Well, I think he used to do it. I think he still does. And I told him, you've got to put cheesomancy in this year's Christmas noun. You've just got to do it. He laughed. So that was, oh my gosh, that was so funny. And I wish I could have recorded it, because it's just, you have to be there. So if you're ever at a convention where that is going on, go to it. It is so hilarious. And then there was one book I wanted to kind of talk about, because I thought this was awesome. It's called, I actually got sold on this by the author himself. The author was Peter J. Wax. The book's called Second Paradigm. And basically, it's a time travel book. And somebody actually recommended this to me, because when I was paying for something at the booth, and I have a wallet that looks like the TARDIS, and they're like, oh, you're a Doctor Who fan, you like time travel. On the other side, there's a book about time travel. I'm like, okay, I'll have to check that out. This is the one. And what it is the chapters are written, and they could be read in any order. Like, the epilogue comes first. But basically what it is each chapter follows a group of time travelers who are trying to fix this event that happened in the past, but they're not talking to each other. So they keep messing each other up. And basically the moral of the story is, please stop helping.
Oh, that sounds good.
So, yeah. So it's an interesting one. You know, I'm sure it'll at least be on the book, if nothing else. So, and he signed it for me. And one of the best things about going to that booth and meeting all these authors. I mean, they're not well-known authors. A lot of them are just starting out. But the fun thing about it is, like, authors, no matter if it's Terry Brooks or somebody else you've never heard of, that, you know, the celebrities, like the TV celebrities, you'll have to pay, you know, $30, $40, $50 for their autograph. But authors are like, oh, you bought my book, here, I will sign it for you. So it's just kind of, there's just sort of a little bit of a different experience in dealing with authors at conventions. I mean, not that I'm complaining about the other, because I understand that's part of the business, but it's just different. And I kind of I really enjoyed being able to go and do that, and I would never have done that on my own. Like, if I hadn't been with Jared and his brother and everybody else, I would have just been like, oh, okay, yeah, I got what I wanted, I'll see you later. But, you know, it was kind of cool doing that, and it was a lot of fun. But it wasn't, so I didn't just have authors. I did meet Jenna Coleman, and that was like so cool. I didn't get to go to her panel because hers was like first thing in the morning on Friday, and I was not going to get there that early, just because we were working around other people's schedules, and it was like the first one. I'm like, why did you put it at 11 o'clock? Why? But it was okay. So I pre-bought her autograph before the con, so like they emailed me a QR code and everything, and she was only going to be there Thursday and Friday, because I think she had another convention to go to on Saturday. And we went and checked out when she was going to be signing, and it was going to be later on Thursday. So I was like, okay, it was like 7 o'clock. So we said, okay, we'll go get in line at 6. So like we went and had dinner, then we came back, and it was probably about 5:45 we got there, and there was a little bit of a line, but not long. So I just stood there and I said, hey, I've got my code or my card that showed I paid for it, and everything, and we were just kind of standing in line, and there was this girl just in front of us she was dressed as a really good ace. She had a bomber jacket with all the patches pinned on, and even some that she'd collected on her own. So this has obviously been something she had been doing for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually, Jenna's line was next to Vic Mignogna's, and Manu Bennett was down the way, and they were both saying stuff, and And Vic Mignogna, if you don't know, he's Edward Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. I hear Brittany chuckling over there.
I really love that show.
Yeah, and he's actually Captain Kirk in the fan Star Trek Continues, the fan show, and which I will be getting to in a minute. I'm trying to get through this without being too over whatever. So anyway, so by the time it was time for Jenna to start signing, she was actually a little bit late because they were doing photo ops and it was on the other side of the building, and so and like the line just wound up and down around, and the volunteers there were like saying, okay, have whatever you're having her sign, make sure it's ready. And I just bought a picture at her table, which was an extra $5, which I was fine with. And I didn't. I mean, it was like I waited for an hour and I got like 10 seconds to say, what I told her was, you're one of my favorites. I love you in Doctor Who, and we're gonna miss you when you go. And she gave me this look that she was touched that I said we were gonna miss her when she left. And I was like, man, I wish I could go to your panel. But she was really sweet, and she was, and this one couple in front of us had like this TARDIS shaped, I almost want to say it's like a wine cooler, maybe, that they had inside. I don't know if that's really what it was, or that it was closed up. It looked like it was something like that. But she was really, it was just really neat, and just kind of standing there in line waiting. And while we were waiting, there was this really cute, because I mentioned Vic Mignogna, there was this couple, and they had a little baby in a stroller, and she was dressed as Winry from Full Metal Alchemist, and she like had a gray beanie with yellow yarn coming out for the blonde hair, and she was wearing a black, I use this in air quotes, tube top, and then pink mechanic pants. It was the cutest darn thing. I'm excited about that. And after kind of watching him interact with his fans, I'm like, we gotta go meet him and get something of his signed. And that was something that Full Metal Alchemist is something Jared and I watched together, and he was all like, okay, yeah, we gotta do that. So the next day, they actually premiered an episode of Star Trek Continues at Salt Lake Comic Con. So we went because Jared and his brother are they've been huge Star Trek fans from when they were little kids, and I'm kind of getting into it. I'm blaming Sean and Mel from when I met them at Galley, and they kind of got me started on, watching the original series, and that's kind of as far as I've gone. But I'm really enjoying what I've seen. It's kind of been piecemeal, but the Vortex Boys, they reviewed an episode when Colin Baker was on an episode of Star Trek Continues, and they did their Beyond the Doctor. And so I'm like, well, I've seen that episode, and I can go see episode 5. And so Vic was up there, and he introduced it, and it was just like, and they're gonna have a Q&A afterward, and it was so good. If you haven't watched it, it's online. Just search Star Trek Continues, and just kind of listening to him talk about the passion and just how excited he is about this, because this is like he grew up with it, and when he was a kid, he got his mom to teach him how to make teach him how to sew so he could make uniforms, and he was at the hardware store trying to figure out how to build a phaser. How do you get that little part that flips up all the time? And he was just so excited about when he was describing all this, and he was talking about how he didn't know how the uniforms fit so snugly, and then when he realized it was a zipper in the back, he was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a zipper!" I'm just like, dude, this guy was into fandom before we even had a word for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
sounds like
it's
it.
really, really cool. And they gave out posters after the panel. And so we were so we grabbed those, this is what we'll have him sign, because we kind of wanted him to sign a mini Edward Elric figure, but there were none to be had at the con. We just couldn't find one, because I guess everyone had bought one already. So on Saturday, that was our one of our first stops, as we went to his table, and we had him sign the poster. And then I also, I'm sure Rachel is going to use it in this episode.
Oh yes.
Because I was like, ooh, that, because we were when we were driving home Friday night, I was like, and we were planning how we wanted to meet Vic, and I said, "Ooh, I bet you I could get a bumper from him for the podcast." And I was like, and Jared was all, "Well, yeah, that'd be good. Like, you could, you just have to ask." And I'm like, "That's true." Because he's a voice actor, he was actually charging for audio stuff, but it was $20, so I was like, I can swing that. And so we went to his table, and I mean, there were a lot of people dressed up as like Full Metal Alchemist characters, or on High School Host Club, which is another one we're watching, which is really ridiculously hilarious. So anyway, but we had the posters, and I said, I want to get a podcast bumper from him, and the girl taking the money said, okay, and so we did all that. So I get up to his table, and he saw we had the posters. We're like, oh, you were there last night, and we were like, yeah, it was really cool. And I told him that I'd heard about Star Trek Continues because I'm a Doctor Who fan, and I had a T-shirt on that was Elsa from Frozen with the TARDIS. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I said, yeah, I found about it because you had Colin Baker in an episode. He's like, oh yeah, and he was so great, and that's so neat and everything. And so he signed my poster, and then his security escort came in from the back and said, hey, I need to take you to your panel, which was right after his signing. And I was like, crap, am I going to get the bumper? And the girl who'd been taking money was like, oh no, don't worry, he'll get it. So he was like talking to the security lady, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I better make this quick because we're on a there's more people behind us, and we want to get this done. So I told him, I explained, I was like, I'm on a podcast, we're the Five-ish Fangirls, we want to we want to get a bumper from you. And he's like, oh, cool, sure. So I hand him my phone, and he does the thing, and he says. I'm Vic Mignogna and all stuff, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls, and it was really cool, and I'm just sitting there laughing. So he hands me my phone back, and he's signing Jared's poster, and I look at my phone, and I realize I hadn't hit record a second time. So it had...
Okay, Sean.
yes, that was my first thought, like, crap. And I was like, Vic, I'm really sorry, but I didn't hit record the second time. Could you redo that? And he kind of was like, oh my gosh, what did he say? He said, oh, I hate it when I think I've got the camera on and it's really not. Like, he didn't make me feel bad, but he was kind of giving me a little bit of a hard time, but it wasn't like any malicious or anything. Yeah. So I started the record, and it was going, because Rachel, when I sent you the raw recording, I said, you're going to have to edit it. But I was like, I didn't want to miss it. So he did it again, and we left, and Jared was all, I think his second one was a lot funnier.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah. So I think we got the most bang for our buck on that one.
Yeah. And you have a fun story to tell.
I have a fun story to tell with it. So even though, and yeah, as I was walking by, I was like, oh my gosh, the Vortex boys are going to make so much fun of me.
Push the button twice, Sean. Push the button twice.
Twice. I'm just glad I realized it before we left the table, because I would have felt so dumb afterward if I didn't. And then we actually went to his panel after, we left his table and went straight to the room where his panel was going to be, and there were just so many young teenage kids that were dressed up, and I'm like, anime fans. I mean, I like anime, but I'm not like. There's some people who just really go out for it, and my hat goes off. I think it's awesome that there's so many. But his panel was one of the most. I think it was. I mean, you could talk about Chris Evans or Jenna Coleman or whoever else was at Comic-Con, and it was so exciting. I honestly think Vic's was probably the most poignant and important panel, and it didn't even start out that way. Because there were a lot of kids that came up, because he talked about, Star Trek Continues and how he's so passionate about it, and he compared it to, there was a girl that was asking a question. It's like if they were doing a live-action version of Full Metal Alchemist, and they asked you to play Winry, and he compared that to him getting to play Captain Kirk in Star Trek Continues, and this is like a total labor of love, passion project for him that he is making no money off of because they can't, because of rights issues and stuff, and he's pouring all his own money into it, and they get donations from fans and supporters and things like that. and just how and he was comparing it to like, you know, like you're into fandom, and this is my fandom too, and he talked a lot about like bullying online, because some people because he's been in a lot of things. He's done a lot of voice work for a lot of different anime, and sometimes people will hear that he's doing it, and they'll tweet to him like, oh, you know, you're this terrible, awful person because he is a Christian. And so people automatically think because he is a Christian, he, like, you know, is hateful toward gays and things like that. And he's just like, I'm not that way. And you know, and it kind of, like, he started breaking down a little bit. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they're actually going there with this. And he just was like saying, you know, people, you know, I don't care who you are, you know, what your beliefs are or your opinions or whatever, just don't be awful to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we're sitting here in this room because of things that we love, and I'd rather focus on things that we love rather than tear people down because of perceived differences of, you know, whatever you want to fill in the blank here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there going, man, this is like, because I mean I know what it's like on both sides of it too, because like when I was a kid, I know it's kind of a tangent. When I was a kid, I was a teenager, and, you know, in my church we had in the girls' youth group, we every year we do what's called girls' camp, and it's like we go up the mountains for a week, and we go camping, and, you know, we do, you know, learning how to build fires and you know, knots and hiking and stuff, and then there's also like spiritual type of things. And I just remember one year, and my mom was actually one of our leaders that year, and we were just all kind of sitting around, and we were all friends in this congregation that, you know, we do activities and things together, and we were all sitting around talking about Harry Potter. And, you know, this was like when we were waiting for the 5th book to come out, and we're so excited, and, you know, what do we think's going to happen, and who our favorite characters were, and blah, 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 and all these things, just having fun. And there was one girl who just came up, and this was like girls and leaders, and, you know, we're all just kind of sitting around just having fun, and she just was kind of like, well, I think Harry Potter's evil because it teaches about witchcraft, and then walks off. And we all just kind of sat around like adults and teenagers going like, are you freaking serious? Did that just happen? And you know, and I kind of was reminded when Vic was kind of talking about this, and there was another question of a girl and her mother, a 17-year-old girl was there doing the Q&A with her mother, and her mom said that people in their neighborhood, like, they think that they're evil or whatever because her daughter likes anime and her mom lets her like anime. And Vic was just sort of explaining that, you know, you like what you like,
Mm-hmm.
and because, you know, and some people who have to tear others down for the things they like, whether it's their religious beliefs or their fandoms or whatever, they're the ones that are missing, and that there's something missing in them that makes them feel like they have to lash out and tear other people down because of the things that they love. And he was like, I actually feel sorry for those people. And I mean, it was kind of like almost like a spiritual church experience, I want to say, almost, but at Comic-Con. I don't know, he just hit a lot of really good points about how, you know, you can have, like, all these things can exist in one person. Just because you like anime doesn't mean you're not a religious person. Just because you're a religious person doesn't mean you can't be into fandoms or, you know, whatever. And people who say, because I've had people tell me that, you know, because I'm Mormon, I'm not allowed to like Harry Potter or Doctor Who or whatever else. And I just kind of look at them and say, you're full of crap. and I totally, and that is exactly how I feel.
Preach.
And yeah, totally. And so anyway, that's what I loved about meeting Vic Mignogna. I think he's an awesome guy, and there was some funny stuff that he was kind of joking around with. He did say that Tamaki from Ouran High School was his favorite role, and it's probably because, I mean, he loves Full Metal Alchemist and Edward Elric and everything, but he was like, but Tamaki in that one is like, he's just so over the top, and you never know if he's joking or if he's being serious when you watch it, and it's just, oh, he's hilarious. So anyway, so if you're at a convention and you get to meet Vic Mignogna, totally do it. Totally super nice guy. You know, I mean, I would suggest, you know, checking out at least Star Trek Continues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not an anime because, you know, he's in that and it's free online. Just look it up. And you know, and totally, and you know, if you feel like you want to, you know, throw them a couple of bucks just to keep it going, because what they want to do is they want to give the original series kind of an ending that it never got because it was canceled, and then bring it to where the motion picture starts, and they're going to do it like in this last final season is kind of what the goal is for that. So anyway, let's see, what else could I'm kind of running long. I mentioned before I went to a panel and we're discussing Marvel Defenders, which is basically like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, all, you know, the Netflix side of Marvel of what they're going to do. And so they're like talking about, and I learned a lot of things, and maybe this wasn't news to people who read the comics with these characters, but apparently Jessica Jones, her backstory is like really, really dark and kind of sadistic, because the Purple Man, what his power is, he can control people using pheromones, and so he can manipulate people into thinking they should do something, which is like totally and completely dark. And you know, fill in the blank here. It's on Netflix and it's pushing the R rating, or it is, you know. So it's like as dark. They're saying as dark as Daredevil was, Jessica Jones is going to be even darker. And I was just like, yeah, okay.
Interesting.
So, you know, and and like, because Jessica Jones, apparently she was part of the Avengers for a while, but then she quit because of what the Purple Man did to her, and she just couldn't handle it. Is sort of what the backstory is. And it's going to be interesting because David Tennant is playing the Purple Man in the show, so it's like going to be interesting. All these people who love David Tennant, myself among them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's David Tennant!" And then we see what he's playing. It's like, "Oh my gosh, it's David Tennant."
David Tennant. That could be interesting.
Yeah. So just a fair warning. I mean, it sounds interesting. I'm still going to watch it, but I feel like I've been duly warned about this. And then just a couple other things, just sort of things at the convention that I bought. I found a Sailor Mercury. It's called SF Figure Arts, and basically it's this little figurine that you can change the hands and the face and doing things like, and put her in different poses, and that's like been my new favorite obsession, to kind of mess around with her. And I thought I would never find one, and they were just sitting there on the shelf in one of the booths. I'm like, I need that. It's kind of like Rocket Raccoon saying, I need that guy's leg.
Yeah. Take my money.
Also, yeah. And so, I mean, they had all the different characters, but I love Sailor Mercury, so I said, that's the one I want, so that's the one I got. And then they also had the Funko Pop big display. It's like the company, the Toy Tokyo that brings them in. They had like these big life-size statues of C-3PO, or their C-3PO. Had some big pieces. I was trying to find Once Upon a Time Funko Pops, even though they don't come out till October, but I thought, well, maybe they'll have them early. Yeah, I couldn't find them, but I did find an old school Mickey and Minnie.
Nice.
So I bought those. Thought they were cute. Although later I talked to my sister and she's like, I saw Once Upon a Time figures. I'm like, where? And she said, at a booth. And she couldn't tell me where they were, but it was like after the con was over. So I was like, well, bummer. But anyway, it was just, overall, I just had a really good time. Everybody was going crazy about, Chris Evans and some of the other big names, and I didn't see a lot of those, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I got to see some of the lesser known type of things, or things that weren't really on other people's radar. And I think part of that is, that's kind of a good thing. Like, if you can, like, when you go to a convention, you don't have to hit the really big headliners if you don't have time for it. or if there's something, look for things that are a little lesser known, or find something that you normally wouldn't go to. Like I would have gone to an author's panel, but I wouldn't have gone to as many as I did this year. And I had a really good time, and I got to hear from Terry Brooks and Jim Butcher and R.A. Salvatore that these are really big names, and I'm like who knows when they'll be coming back through town.
Mm-hmm.
But all things after when all was said and done, it was a really good time. And the initial line to get in on Thursday was kind of long, but not as long as it was last year. So the updated RFID wristbands were a phenomenal change from what they've done before, because all you do is tap and have to wait for it to scan, and then you get in.
Nice.
So that was kind of nice.
It's like Disney World.
So, yeah, it's basically like Disney World. Although, on Thursday when we left to go get dinner, we left out of a side door. So when we came back in, they said, "Oh, this is saying you're still in." And like, really? Oh, yeah, because we left, we didn't tap out. They're like, "Oh, just tap it again. You're in. You're fine." So like, "Oh, okay." So it was interesting. But anyway, but that was Salt Lake Comic-Con. Great experience. The volunteers were great. I have nothing to complain about. And we did have ice cream there, and it was awesome. I had brownie ice cream, and it was like the best.
Don't go starting on the food. I need to eat dinner after we're done. So
sorry. That was just like, I feel like this is a nice little cap to everything. So, oh, wait. One more thing.
Okay.
I forgot to mention, because I met Kirk from what's it called? Kansas City Comic-Con, who the Vortex boys are friends with.
Oh yeah.
And he tweeted me. It's like, hey, because I guess they invited people from other conventions to come just kind of check it out and see things, and it was really cool because he was all like, I didn't realize there were this many people in Utah, and I'm like, yep. Although you did say 25% of the attendees came from out of state, but that's neither here nor there. Everyone that I knew that was there was from Utah. So I guess he was kind of surprised just how big Salt Lake Comic-Con has gotten just in the short amount of time. And he was really, really sweet guy, and it was nice to like meet somebody who I talked to on Twitter during like Friday Night and who I knew through the Vortex podcast, like actually meet him in person. So Kirk, if you're listening, hi, and it was really cool to meet you, and I hope I wasn't too like crazy fangirly. Well, yeah, whatever. It was just, I only got to talk to him for a few minutes, but it was just cool. So so yay to Kirk, and I hope you enjoyed Salt Lake, because good times all the way around. So anyway, that was Comic-Con.
Sweet.
And I have no more money.
Yeah.
Which is probably just as well. Although Jared bought a lot more books than I did, and I bought like 5 or 6 of them. He has like a big pile of them on his dresser. I went over to his place the other day, and I was just like, "You're gonna have time to read all of those?" And
I will make time.
Yep.
You start
the fun of it
sticking
was
them in
getting
places.
inside, so. Yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm glad your sister had a good time. It was fun watching her post pictures.
Oh, yeah, and she cosplayed all 3 days. I only cosplayed on the second River song, and I didn't even get a picture of myself. Which, oh well.
Yeah.
I'll do that for Halloween.
Yeah. So. Oh, alrighty. Oh, pardon me. Stretch there. Oh, well, with that, let's move on to our main topic. Not that wasn't exciting in itself, but we did
to make sure we had time for the rest.
Yeah, we did promise Mitch last week when she wanted to take a moment to squee that we would take an episode. So and this has been on the schedule for weeks anyway. So, and actually we have more to talk about because we've had technically 3 episodes air because there were 2 back to back.
Yep.
So, but Heroes Reborn. It's so not what I was expecting, yet at the same time, it's everything I expected from Heroes. There have been plenty of surprises and a few what the crap just happened moments and a few...
Can I talk about where I was today?
Oh yes, and
Oh, please,
it's
please do, please do.
it's literally in Mitch's backyard at the moment.
The past 3 days has been filming downtown Kitchener at City Hall, and today I went there. Well, actually, I went there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but wasn't there for very long on Friday, and I didn't actually see anything filmed. But I saw a scene filmed on Thursday, and then I saw another scene filmed today. So,
was it anybody?
I don't know how much you want me to tell you about that, because the episode that these scenes are for is like a couple months down the road.
Right. So, well, who was in it? I mean, is it faces we've already seen?
I saw in the scene on Thursday. It was definitely. I'm pretty sure it was Quentin Frady.
Yeah.
Played by Jimmy Zabrowski, and possibly, I'm not sure, his sister Phoebe.
Oh, okay.
And there was a blonde girl, which I think, from what I saw today, was the girl controlling the Aurora from the first few episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And then today, I saw Robbie Kay.
Nice.
Ooh. Yeah. So, and this is bit of a spoiler, but I think he had Hero's sword. Because he had a sword on his bag, and I think it was Hero's. Like a samurai sword.
Well, Hero's sword is getting around, so...
It's getting around.
Yes, it is.
It's making the round.
There's a Williams Cafe, like, right on the plaza, like, where they were filming. So I was in there all day watching, so it was... And they were, like, across, like, pretty far away, so I couldn't see very clearly, but... Yeah. So
Still, that's so cool.
Talk more about that once the episode that these scenes are in has aired.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, like, some of the behind the scenes stuff that I saw.
Yeah. Still, that's so cool.
Yeah. I got to see filming on one of my favorite TV shows. This is wonderful.
Hey, I would be thrilled too.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. Just, I mean, there's part of me that's like, we're getting sort of the typical Heroes plot where something bad's going to happen that may affect the entire world, and we've got these people with powers, and eventually they're probably going to come together and try to stop the bad thing from happening. But aside from a few people from the original series, it's a whole new group of people and some unique powers that we have not seen before, and some really cool powers, in my opinion. I've seen some people that are like, from the start, they're like, oh, it's not that good, and some of these powers are ridiculous, especially Miko's, which I personally think Miko's is one of the coolest powers I've ever seen.
I know, who doesn't want to jump into a video
She's
game?
a living video game. That is so cool. But, and then we've got...
they're like the new hero in Ando, and I love it.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. The poor guy that gets caught up in her adventures. I'm like, he's turning into Ando. He's gonna be the Ando of the series.
But he's a lot more enthusiastic about it, because when he finds out that that's her, he's like, oh my gosh, you're Katana Girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Very much so. And of course, we've got a few faces that we've seen before. Noah's back. The Haitian was back for a hot second, although he's now dead. We've yet to actually see Hero. We're 3 episodes in, and Hero is yet to make an appearance other than in teasers. I'm like, where is Hero? I want to see Hero.
Every time we get to Japan, I'm like, I'm going to see Hero then.
I know. Because I haven't seen the 3rd episode yet. But, because I was watching and Miko's got that sword, and I'm just kind of like, wait, her dad can't be Hero, is he? I'm like, that. I mean, I don't think he can be, because I don't think the math works out quite right.
No, I've seen different theories. Some people think that she's not actually, she's a manifestation of her father's power, and she doesn't really have any memories beyond just when we first see her. But, you know, again, it's probably going to be at several episodes probably before we get her story, because I mean we've still got 10 episodes to go.
That is true. I know it was the cracked out theory, but I was like, I had to think about it.
Yeah. So. And I like having Noah back. We haven't seen Mohinder yet, although they mentioned Mohinder several times. We haven't seen Angela Petrelli yet, although we know she's coming because she's been in the commercials and the teasers and all that. And then a few surprises like Molly Walker. I so was not, and especially Molly Walker as Molly Walker now.
Yeah. And I saw on IMDb that there was a character named Molly. I'm like, is that Molly Walker? Could it be? I don't know. It's a different actress, but maybe.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that it was.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
Well, there's like Noah mentions Molly Walker, and then, you know.
IMDb, the actress who played Molly Walker originally hasn't acted in about 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
That, and my thought was that she's a bit too young for Molly. The way that they're doing Molly now, she's like grown up and sexy and all that.
Now.
Yeah.
18. Guy who played Micah is 19.
Yeah. Which we haven't seen Micah come back yet either.
Not in the main show.
Not in the main show.
Dark Matters.
Yeah. So we still have a few familiar faces that have yet to make an appearance on the main show. And again, I'm desperately waiting for Hero to come back. Like, I need my Hero.
Yeah.
He's my favorite. If you haven't figured that out, Hero's my favorite. So, and even before the series started, because like when we did our Heroes episode, you know, several weeks ago, and we were speculating like who else may come back, and we didn't know where some of these people were, and then we got like the little preview teaser thingy on YouTube and on the Facebook or whatever. It's like, Claire Bennett's dead. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that tells us where Claire is.
Well, Hidden Panther is busy with, what was it, Nashville anyway?
Yeah.
Nashville. Yeah, Nashville. Yeah. And she just had a baby.
Yes.
So she's been doing a lot of other things, which, yeah. I wish she could have come back for Heroes, but, you know, she's having success elsewhere and can't begrudge her that at all.
No. No, definitely not. Although I still stand by, although, you know, having the baby thing also adds to your schedule, but her doing Nashville, I still stand by my comment from when we did our Heroes episode that Masaoka does Hawaii 5-0. And he was managed to do this. So you can do two at the same time. But he didn't just have a baby either, so I will not begrudge Hayden for that. Although, you know, there's the whole, you know, and even Quentin says that it's like, how did she die with the power that she has? So that's something that needs to be answered. If Claire, if Claire is genuinely dead, how did she die? And I said this in our chat.
There is a way to kill people with regenerative ability.
Well, yes.
There's a spot in their brain that if you shove something in that spot, they are dead.
Yeah. But we haven't seen that.
The thing is in that spot.
We haven't seen that.
So if someone did that to her, like put something in, like stabbed her in the head or whatever.
Or just the explosion that
Shrapnel?
Shrapnel could have hit her. I mean, it could have been anything. So
Right.
I mean,
But Noah would know that, and if
in the premiere, she was on a list of people who didn't attend the summit, so she wasn't there. She died
someplace else. Yeah. But the thing is, if it was a thing in the back of the head, Noah would know that. If Noah actually did go and see her body, you would think that was something he would check.
Yes.
True.
Because as we've seen, you can put something in the back of the head, and if you remove it, then they come back.
Thing with the security footage, so maybe something happened that prevented him from checking or whatever.
Yeah, and that's one of those mysteries that we're stuck with waiting.
And then if maybe she was cremated or something to prevent her coming back ever.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't know what the limits of Claire's abilities are. So, I mean, if you cut off her head, does the head grow back, or would that kill her? We just don't know.
Or would there be two Claires? Because like the head could grow the body, and the body could grow the head.
We've now seen we've seen growth of a new person from a body part now. So.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's like, what?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either.
There is people doing that. After all, she cut off her toe in season 2, and it didn't grow a new Claire.
That's true, but it did grow back.
Oh, you brought up the toe.
Yeah.
What?
The toe.
That was the one scene that really squicked me out in season whatever it was.
2.
Yeah. Season 2, yeah. I was just, I don't know. I mean, I could watch her falling off towers and getting impaled by crowbars and tire irons, but her actually cutting off her own toe, just
Yeah, that's a scene that stuck with me even at years after watching Heroes. That's one scene I distinctly remember. Is there's the cheerleader cuts off her own toe.
Anyway, sorry for
thank you, Tim
Kring.
Kring.
But I'm like, eat.
Yeah. It'd make you a little. Oh my. So, who else is there? Well, there's Tommy. The kid constantly on the run thanks to his overprotective parent. Not that we've ever seen an overprotective parent before in this show.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to go over real well.
Especially it ended.
Yeah, really.
We saw kind of how well it went over at the end of episode 3 when they got in that accident.
Yes. Yeah. So, as we mentioned in our other Heroes episode, that parents will do things to protect their children, and it comes back to bite them in the butt. Heroes Reborn is no different.
Mm-hmm. It's like, this is just carrying on the grand tradition.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much. So, that and there's this major corporation, and they've decided that they need to do something to change the world. Yeah, that's going to go over real well, too.
Yes.
Yep. Although, did anybody else giggle when they said Primatech Paper Company is sponsoring this summit for Evos and humans? And I was like, Primatech Paper. I'm like, yes, that was the name of the company, and it was only a front, but it was just funny that they were still calling it Primatech Paper. They could have just called it Primatech, but
no, Primatech Paper.
Primatech Paper. It just made me giggle. Okay, it just was a thing.
Yep.
Right up there with the Linderman auditorium or whatever, and Pinehurst High School.
Linderman Junior High in Los Angeles and
Pinehurst
High School in
Chicago.
No, the different. Not Chicago. It's a different.
I thought that's where Tommy goes, is Pinehurst, and that's in Chicago. I don't know, they keep doing drops, references to the original series, and it's like, really?
Well, and they're in so many different cities, sometimes it's hard to keep track of where everybody is. It's like, hey, where are we right now?
Yeah. They bounce between LA and Texas, and I think it's the Chicago area-ish area, and the Arctic Circle, and Japan,
Tokyo.
and so
and wherever Zachary Levi's character got dumped off, where Tommy,
which that ended up being Prime Attack.
Texas,
that ended up being Prime Attack. So, which him and his wife, whew, she's got some issues.
Just a bit.
Just a little. Like, I know you lost your kid, and you're probably hurting, and that makes you really ticked off, and you want revenge for the people responsible. But man, she's got a vendetta a mile long.
Yep, that's going to be interesting to see, kind of where she ends up.
Illinois, like not Chicago, Carbondale.
Okay, I got the right state.
It's the city that Tommy lives in.
Okay. Well, I got the right state.
Chicago.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It may not be real. Okay. It may be made up. For all we know.
That could be true too.
Yeah. That could be true. Possibly. They do that. Make up cities. So yeah, and it'll and their relationship's gonna get really complicated here.
just a little bit.
What's the saying? Is the thing you fear most? What is it? Something like the thing you fear or hate the most will be the thing that is your undoing or something. So yeah, I think that's about to come true with our Bonnie and Clyde vigilantes, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like with the other hero storylines, we have all these people that right now are kind of doing their own thing, but they're because this is essentially a mini series. I think they're going to come together a lot faster than they potentially could have, because they know that this thing in theory is going to end in 13 episodes, and they're going to tie everything up in a nice little bow. I mean, we've already got Noah with Quentin, who in our chat I'd mentioned that Quentin is the Osgood of Heroes. He is the fan put into the series.
I like him.
He says things like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, "Yep."
Word up.
Yep. You are reading our mind, dude. You're reading our mind. And then Noah and Quentin were reunited with Molly for a second, but apparently something happened between Noah and Molly, that Molly decided that being hooked up to Epic was better than going with Noah.
Well, it's more like she was willing to take her chances with
Epic.
Renatus.
Yeah.
Because I think she was trying to escape, and then
she just didn't want to escape with them.
Yeah. She wanted to escape on her own.
Yeah.
But that didn't quite work out.
No, not really. Not so much. So, big evil corporation, Renatus.
Yep.
You can't see me, but I'm making a disgusted face.
It's always the shell corporations that they hide behind. It's kind of like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they're in Colorado? Is that where
Yes.
Colorado.
Midian from Colorado.
Yeah. So, which Miko and her version of Ando are now on their way there. So they're coming together.
What was his name? Now I can't think of it.
Ren.
His name was Ren.
Okay, it is Ren. I knew it was something short and one syllable. I was just like, what is it?
Yeah. Although in the that one in episode 3 when he's in the Yamagato Tower and they're talking about what they've done with Miko and I hope he understands English. But apparently he did. So because they're talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, I hope he understands English. So,
yeah, that would be an issue.
but apparently he did because he knew where to go to find her.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which is good.
Yep.
Although she can hold her own, but only to a point. So.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, considering she started out, essentially in this apartment, in this high rise, just existing, and not believe. When Ren comes and says that he got her address from this video game, and he realizes that she's Katana Girl and she doesn't believe him. But the minute she gets the katana, which is Hero's sword as we know it, that she suddenly turns into like the bride from Kill Bill, and Uma Thurman ain't got nothing on her. And she's a video game. That's so cool.
I know, how many times have you played a video game and be like, man, I wish I could be that person in the video game, or doing flips and shooting weapons and whatever, or magic powers, whatever you have.
There's so many people that are like, oh, it's a stupid ability and the graphics aren't that good. I'm like, it's a TV series. They don't have the same budget. That, of course, I think actually the graphics are pretty darn good considering.
Yeah.
We've seen more ridiculous CG in blockbuster movies. Episode 1 Star Wars. So I will give Heroes Reborn a pass, thank you.
And this is why I am not delving into any fandom discussion.
Stylized.
Yeah.
It's a video game. It's stylized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, video games have a certain look to them. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's a freaking video game. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
This is the look of this video game.
Exactly.
You have judged on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between, Lego Star Wars versus Halo, I guess. I'm just throwing things out there. They're not supposed to look the same. They each have their own style, so just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, the style of the video game is not relevant. It doesn't have any bearing on the story. It doesn't affect how the story plays out. So
exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
So, stop whining, people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's our piece.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't have a piece to say.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, so I have a question actually for Holly, because Holly decided to go ahead and start watching Heroes Reborn, even though she has not watched Heroes. So without really any prior knowledge other than our Heroes episode where we talked about it, what are you thinking? Are you following along all right, or are you completely lost?
I'm following along all right, because I think they kind of give enough background with stuff that I'm not too confused, and I'm planning on going back and watching all the prior seasons before this, but I'm thinking too that, some of my questions might be answered, and I can always do a little research, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, because they're rebooting it essentially, except it's a continuation, so not really, but they're trying to structure. I'm sure they're trying to structure it so that new viewers will not be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that, how many years has it been since Heroes was canceled? The original series was canceled. I mean, and people, they're gonna want to bring in new audience and make them feel like, okay, yeah, you can pick this up even if you haven't binge watched 4 seasons of television,
like I did.
Yeah, but still remain true to what the fans of the original know and love, and even though, I mean, it's impossible to get all the same characters back, but still introduce some really good new characters. Like Tommy is what I'm really interested in, and not just because he's Robbie Hay and I know him from Once Upon a Time, but I also like Miko and Ren. But then I'm also interested in what Noah Bennett's up to, and some of these different things.
Noah Bennett would be like to know what he's up to as well.
Yeah,
he would. Yeah, and I've heard it said that Robbie Hay is supposed to be like the Peter Petrelli type character of this new series.
He's doing a really good job. Like, I mean, I make no secret about the fact that I did not like Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time. It has nothing to do with Robbie Kay. It has everything to do with the writers didn't know what the heck they were doing with that character. And so, but I think he's doing a marvelous job with
he's
the
doing
character.
a great job. I'm really loving his stuff so far.
And his storyline, it reminds me a little bit of Claire and her little friend, that his name escapes me all of a sudden.
Zach?
And what was that?
Zach,
that's what it was. Thank you.
Zach.
Yeah, and like, he's got this girl that he likes, and he's entrusted her with his secret, and I'm kind of liking those parallels. But if he's kind of the Peter Petrelli character too, then that's not just, oh, we need someone to play the Claire part and someone to play the Zach part. It's not just that straight across trade. It's, no, these characters are their own. They have their own story and their own backgrounds, and we're not just retreading old material, even though it feels familiar, but it's also new at the same time.
Yeah.
So I like that they can pull that off and not make it feel like it's, oh, we've just warmed this over from before and we're telling the exact same story just with different faces and names.
Very, very true. Yeah. And I think they're striking a good, so far, I think they're striking a good balance of, like you said, bringing enough new faces in there that if you haven't watched, you're not completely lost, but there's enough of the old from the original series for the people that did watch the original series, especially the diehards. You've got the familiar faces like Noah and the Haitian, and eventually Mohinder and Hero, but there are also hints and references that if you're the diehard, things like using Pinehurst and Linderman and some of the other stuff. It's like Easter eggs for the real diehards. It's like, ooh, you gonna catch these references? Yeah.
It's like seeing it's like hearing the Doctor reference Autons or seeing the Fourth Doctor's scarf somewhere. Some background thing. It's like it has no bearing on the story. It's just fun for the old school fans to be like, yee, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, very much so. So like I said, when I binged all 4 seasons to get caught up, I very quickly was reminded of what I'd loved about the show originally when it was on, and I not watched it because of reasons I've already discussed, and it's not because I didn't enjoy it, it's just because life got in the way. But rewatching it now, like I said, now that I've got more of a love for the superhero genre, that it made me love it more than I did when I originally watched it, and this so far is not disappointing me any, as someone who, loved Heroes at the time, but maybe didn't appreciate it. Now I, love it even more and appreciate it more for, trying to do the superhero thing in an age that we have now with, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Arrow and the Flash and Agents of Shield and all, superheroes just coming at us from left and right, to have it come back and really pick up where it left off, which I think is what they said, this is what they wanted to do, is they wanted to give the series closure because of what happened to it when it was originally on. And they've done a good job of bridging, even though it's been so many years. They've done a good job of connecting the two. So those of us that do love it are like, yes, this is what I wanted. And while still giving us new stuff and new characters that we're really quickly beginning to love, characters like Miko. It's like, yes, you're the new hero. I love you. But we're still going to get Hero, which, it's like frosting, sprinkles on top of the sundae.
You're not a replacement. You're a character in your own right, but you remind us of this character that we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of it's fun to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mitch is just on cloud 9. I think out of all of us, Mitch is the biggest Heroes fan. It was her. Your fandom before Doctor Who, so.
And I didn't understand why people were hating on it for like the last couple 2-3 years. It was like, why? This is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, I still loved it. I'm not as big a fan of it as you, but I watched it and I enjoyed it, and I'd hear people talk smack about season 3, and I love season 3. That one I think was my favorite. I mean, yeah, season 1 is really, really good, and that was the one that hooked everybody in. But I don't know, season 3 is just really so enjoyable, and that was the one that everybody just kind of like, that one was blah 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 whatever. And I'm just like, you're full of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here with my season 3 DVD and enjoy it, and you don't get to come to my party, so neener.
Yeah. So,
yeah. I liked season 3. It was good.
Mm.
And season 4, which...
Season 4 is good. I didn't like it as much, but I still did enjoy it.
I know a lot of people like the carnival aspect of it, but
yeah,
it's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the carnival thing. I thought that was neat.
Mm-hmm. It was a nice change of pace. It wasn't.
Well, and when they at San Diego Comic-Con the year before that came out, like before that season, they were advertising Heroes with a carnival type thing outside of the main convention hall.
And it makes sense because where would you hide people with quote unquote freakish abilities?
Mm-hmm.
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 And we may get reference to that at some point. Who knows what other kind of Easter eggs they've got in the series. And obviously, I mean, as Mitch said, it's still filming, so they're still working on it. So who knows?
Although,
oh yeah,
when I was at the filming today, apparently they're like a month behind schedule.
Oh really?
Oh
yeah. It's like because it was raining while they were shooting. And they said that, if that happened earlier in the shoot, that they would have rescheduled for another day. But because they're so far behind, they just had to power through it. And they might rewrite that episode to include that it's raining or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, the joys
in the episode.
The joys of television, right?
Mm-hmm. Mother
Not
Nature
really
cooperates for no one.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I like it. I like having something to watch on Thursday nights.
Although apparently I forgot that Sleepy Hollow's on Thursday now, so I totally missed that.
Well, I know Elementary's coming back on Thursday in about a month, so next month I'll have 2 things on Thursday, but there's going to be like an hour block in between them where something else is on.
Yeah.
Which I think is The Blacklist. So, like, there's going to go Heroes Reborn, The Blacklist, Elementary.
Watch Elementary. I think it's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
I read that.
Could be.
That sounds familiar.
I know it's on one channel here. They just started having that in person of interest, but I meant to record it, but I totally forgot.
I think it's WGN. I know has been doing.
Yes, WGN. That's what I was thinking of.
Like, all these shows are back, and it's like, how do I balance watching everything? You just do.
Yeah, especially Tuesdays with me.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with Tuesday, but that seems to be the day.
My mom knows you don't bother me on Tuesday nights because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on.
Nice.
That is my night. That is date night with the television.
Yep. And I just see it all on Hulu the day after.
And it's also date night with my husband now that Chauncey's watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. So it's
Chauncey's
win-win.
Good man, Chauncey. You done good.
Yep.
Well,
oh, heroes, what are you going to do to us?
we'll find out.
We're going to wait and watch and find out. And oh, hopefully we'll get answers.
Yep.
We shall see. I'm sure they're going to wait till the very end to give us closure, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
I'll keep watching!
Totally. And well, I gotta catch up, but
Yeah.
I'll be watching as well.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and if you
pass,
well, there you go. You got it all figured out.
For iTunes every week.
Cool. And if you, dear listener, are watching and want to chime in about your thoughts on Heroes Reborn or anything else that we talk about, you can drop us a line at our email, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. But you can also go to our website, which is the5ishfangirlspodcast.blogspot.com, and you can find all of our contact links, our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, iTunes, YouTube, all that good stuff on our website. And you can leave us comments or send us feedback or just like us, follow us wherever we are, and we will come to you to your waiting earbuds to hear all of the tangents and squee and everything else that we talk about. And also, please support us on Patreon if you can. We do appreciate that because this is a lot of fun, and it's a lot more fun when there are a lot of people enjoying it, and that support allows us to continue on in that adventure. So, and we do thank those who are currently supporting because you're awesome, and we love you for it.
Very much so. Very much so. And don't forget, this coming Saturday as we're recording, October 10th, Star Wars with Friends, Episode 2.
Yep.
The worst one, depending on who you ask. Irregardless, we're going to watch it. We're going to watch them all, whether they're good or not. So that's just the way we roll. So 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Star Wars Episode 2, October 10th. If you want to join in on that. And next week we're going to be talking Once Upon a Time.
Oh boy.
And then the week after that we'll be talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We've all got full plates. That's why I was a little worried that I would go over with my Salt Lake Comic-Con report. I even was going to record a little extra side a little extra squee thing, and they're like, no, you can talk about it on the podcast. I'm like, okay, good, because I'd rather talk about it with people and not just talk to the microphone.
Yep.
But anyway,
it's all good. It's all good. So, but yeah.
So,
as much as we're excited about Heroes Reborn, the next 2 episodes, we're going to be like,
like,
yeah. So,
squee all over the place.
If you want to join on that, go right on that. Oy.
Alrighty.
No. Okay. Well, with that, I'm getting hungry, so let's sign off.
This is Brittany and Bevda saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
Rich in Ontario saying goodnight.
And this is Rachel currently in South Bend, Indiana. I swear to HRG's glasses of heroes, not in this next episode. I'm going to punch someone. I want my hero Nakamura. Good night, everyone. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.